The Secret in the Black Bag. Part 1. The Stranger at the Night Bus Station. Bishkek City. It was one of the last nights of summer. The time was 2:15 a.m., and the dim lights of the bus station flickered under the dark sky. Movement was rare, except for the occasional arrival of a night bus. The silence was broken only by the sound of an old woman sweeping the asphalt with a warm broom. That night, a 24-year-old man named Samit was returning to his apartment after visiting his mother in Karakol. He had just finished his final exams and decided to take a night minibus that stopped at the long-distance bus terminal instead of a regular route or train. When Samit got off the bus, he tried to call a taxi, but there was no signal. Searching for Wi-Fi, he walked over to a rusty bench in the corner of the station and sat down. At that moment, a man wearing all black with a hood covering most of his face walked by and quickly shoved a heavy black bag under the bench next to Samit, without saying a word, and then walked off. Samit barely noticed him until he heard a metallic clink from the bag. At first, he thought, it's probably just luggage, but the man didn't even look back. A few seconds later, a voice echoed from behind. "Don't open it. It's not what you think." Startled, Samit looked around, but the man had already vanished into the darkness. There was no one else in sight. Part 2. What was inside the bag? Samit felt the urge to run, but something held him back. What if it's a bomb? He thought. Or what if it's cash? Or something important? I can't just leave it here. I'd call the police, but there's no signal. He slowly unzipped the bag. Inside was a black box. On top of the box was a digital timer with red, glowing numbers. 37 minutes and 52 seconds, and it was counting down. His heart dropped. Was it really a bomb? He grabbed the box and stepped outside. Still, no one was around. The bus station was in the outskirts of the city, far from any traffic or crowds. Suddenly, from a distance, he saw someone running toward him. A young woman in what looked like military gear, a headset in her ear, her face determined. She yelled as she approached. "Put it down. You don't know what you're holding." Samit froze. He couldn't move. The woman slowed down and carefully walked up to him. Then, in a calmer voice, she said, "I'm with a special unit. That device is part of a classified operation. You've gotten caught up in something you were never meant to see." Part 3. Under surveillance. Samit stood frozen, still gripping the black box. The woman's sharp eyes scanned him and the device. She carefully stepped closer, keeping her voice low. "My name is Layla. I'm part of the National Counter-Explosives Task Force. What you're holding, it's not a bomb, but it's equally dangerous." "What do you mean? What is it then?" Samit asked, his voice shaking. Layla opened a small pouch from her tactical vest and pulled out a tablet. She placed it near the device, and a screen lit up, displaying a series of codes and temperature readings. "This is a biometric data extractor," she explained. "It was stolen last week from a military convoy. It's programmed to harvest encrypted information from specific individuals. You were just a bystander, but now your fingerprints are on it. That makes you a target." Samit's heart pounded. "A target of who?" Layla sighed. "Whoever planted it, they're watching. And now, they know you've touched it." Part 4. The van that never left. Before Samit could respond, Layla's headset crackled. "Unit Bravo to Delta 3. Surveillance confirms black van still parked 40 meters south. No movement. Possible Overwatch vehicle." Layla turned to Samit, grabbing the device from his hands. "We need to move. Now." She pulled him by the arm, leading him around the side of the bus terminal. Behind a row of shipping crates, they crouched. Samit peeked out and saw a black van with tinted windows idling under a flickering streetlight. The engine was off, but something about it felt wrong. Layla tapped her earpiece again. "Alpha Team, this is Delta 3. I have a civilian compromised and in possession of the package. Requesting extraction at Grid 9 immediately." No response. She tried again. Nothing. Layla muttered, "Damn signal jammers. They're closer than we thought." Then they heard it, the creak of a car door opening in the distance. Part 5. The pursuit begins. Suddenly, headlights switched on from the van. It revved its engine, turning sharply toward the back of the station. Layla pushed Samit forward. "Run!" They sprinted down a narrow alley behind the station as the van gave chase, tires screeching on the pavement. Samet's breath burned in his throat. Why me? Why is this happening to me? Because you were in the wrong place at the wrong time, Layla shouted. But now you're the only one who can help stop what's coming. They ducked behind a dumpster as the van sped past. Layla pulled out her sidearm and handed Samet a tiny flash drive. If anything happens to me, you take this to a man named Ian Bikov. He's a former intelligence officer. Lives near Ala Archik Canyon. What's on it? Samet asked. Everything. The identities of the rogue agents. The next targets. A map of plan strikes. That device was just the bait. Samet's hands trembled as he tucked the drive into his jacket. Then a gunshot rang out. Part 6. Fire in the terminal. The bullet missed them by inches, ricocheting off the dumpster. Layla fired 2 rounds toward the van, hitting one of the tires. It swerved slightly, but didn't stop. Doors flew open, and 2 masked men with rifles jumped out. Split! Layla shouted. Samet ran one way while Layla rolled into the shadows of the terminal entrance. Inside, flickering emergency lights cast long shadows through the empty hall. A vending machine sparked, and a suitcase lay abandoned by the check-in desk. Samet ducked behind a pillar, clutching the flash drive. Footsteps echoed. One of the gunmen was inside, searching. From above, a faint buzz came. Layla had made it to the roof. She dropped a smoke grenade through the skylight. Boom! Smoke filled the lobby. Samet, this way, she called. He ran, blinded by the haze, coughing as he followed her voice. Just as they reached the exit, a hand grabbed Samet's shoulder. Part 7. The Shadow Agent. The masked man twisted Samet's arm and tried to grab the flash drive. Layla tackled him, the 2 tumbling over a bench. The agent was fast, trained, but Layla was faster. In a blur of motion, she knocked his rifle away and elbowed him in the jaw. But then he pulled off his mask. Samet gasped. It was a face he recognized. A teacher from university. Professor Urkinov, the soft-spoken man who taught geopolitics. You? Samet stammered. Urkinov smiled darkly. There's a war coming, boy, and only those who prepare will survive. You're holding the key to a new world order. Layla raised her gun. Let him go, Urkinov. He chuckled. You're already too late. Then he dropped a small metal sphere onto the ground. Flashbang. Boom. Light exploded. Sound shattered the air. When Samet opened his eyes, Urkinov was gone. Part 8. The Hidden Room. Layla pulled Samet into a hidden stairwell that led under the terminal. He's part of a rogue cell, she explained. They've infiltrated universities, government offices, even parts of law enforcement. That's why they knew where you'd be. The passageway ended at a reinforced door. Layla used her thumbprint to unlock it. Inside was a surveillance hub, screens showing satellite feeds, phone intercepts, biometric scans. This is our local safe room, she said. But we can't stay long. One of the screens showed a map, blinking red dots forming a triangle over the Kyrgyz Republic. Samet pointed. What are those? Strike zones. Coordinated hits, all set to happen within 48 hours. Power grids, comms, government data centers. Samet stepped back. And I'm involved in all of this, just because I sat on a bench? Layla looked him in the eye. No, because you were meant to. Part 9. Samet's Choice. Layla pulled up a folder on the screen titled Operation Black Echo. Inside were files marked classified, photos of officials, foreign agents, and encrypted messages. Samet looked at the flash drive in his hands. Why give this to me? You barely know me. Layla nodded slowly. Because the people who are supposed to protect us are compromised. We need someone off-grid. Someone no one's watching. Samet hesitated. But I'm not a spy. I'm not even brave. I'm just normal. Layla smiled for the first time. That's what makes you perfect. They'll never see you coming. He looked at the screen again. Cities blinking. Lives at risk. He made a choice. Take me to Ian Bikov. Part 10. Into the mountains. They left just before dawn. Layla borrowed an old off-road Jeep hidden under a tarp behind the terminal. As the sun rose, they drove toward Ala Archik Canyon, the mountains glowing gold under the morning light. Samet sat quietly, holding the flash drive like it was sacred. They were halfway there when a helicopter appeared overhead. Layla cursed under her breath. That's not ours. A voice crackled over a speaker from above. Pull over immediately. This is your final warning. Samet turned to Layla. What now? She grinned and floored the gas pedal. Now, we fight for tomorrow. The mountains awaited. So did a war no one knew was coming. Part 11. The Road of No Return. The mountain road curved sharply, the tires screeching as Layla's Jeep sped around hairpin turns. Behind them, the black military-style helicopter hovered low, following every movement. How do they even know where we are? Samet shouted over the roar of the wind. They've tapped everything, drones, cameras, even old satellites. We're not just running from one group. We're running from a system. The canyon loomed ahead. Fog crawled over the rocky slopes like a living thing. Layla suddenly veered off the main road onto a hidden gravel path, tires kicking up dust. This route isn't on any map, she said. Only Bykov knows it. As they disappeared into the trees, the helicopter circled helplessly overhead, unable to follow through the narrow pass. But Samet felt no relief. He knew something worse was waiting up there. Part 12. The Fortress of Silence. By midday, they arrived at a remote cabin buried deep in pine trees and shielded by natural cliffs. From the outside, it looked abandoned, but Layla approached with purpose, tapping a series of knocks on a wooden board near the door. Moments later, the door creaked open. A tall, bearded man with piercing green eyes stepped out, a shotgun resting casually on his shoulder. Layla, he said in a deep voice, you brought a guest. And meet Samet. He's holding something the world isn't ready for. Bykov narrowed his eyes. Come inside. The inside of the cabin was lined with military gear, encrypted radios, and weather maps. Old medals hung above a fireplace, but none of it looked like it had been touched in years. I left that world behind, Bykov muttered. But you always find a way to drag me back. Layla slid the flash drive across the table. Not me. This kid did. Part 13. The Cipher's Core. Bykov inserted the flash drive into a hardened laptop. Strings of encrypted data scrolled down the screen. He typed furiously, decoding each layer. They're targeting 3 facilities simultaneously: the National Power Grid, the Central Data Reserve, and the Supreme Court's secure vault. But why the court? Samet asked. Bykov turned to him. Because inside that vault is the only paper copy of the 2041 Emergency Protocol. If it's destroyed, no legal government action can be enforced in a crisis. That means chaos, the end of organized response. So they want to bring the country to its knees, Samet whispered. Bykov nodded grimly. And we have exactly 42 hours to stop them. He stood and opened a secret panel on the floor, revealing a hidden weapons cache. We'll need to split up. Part 14. A Ghost from the Past. That night, as Samet helped Layla load gear into backpacks, he found an old photograph. Bykov, younger, in uniform, standing beside a woman holding a baby. Is this his family? Samet asked. Layla paused. Yes, his wife and son. They were killed during an operation gone wrong. The agency betrayed him. That's why he disappeared. Samet looked at the photograph again. So why help now? Because despite everything, he still believes in protecting innocent lives. Later that night, as they prepared for departure, Bykov stood silently at the edge of the forest, staring into the distance. He whispered to himself, I lost my son. I won't let another boy die on my watch. Part 15. The Return to the City. Before dawn, the trio left the safety of the mountains, disguised as surveyors driving an old construction truck. They avoided checkpoints, using rural roads, and only stopped when absolutely necessary. Back in Bishkek, the city pulsed with life, unaware of the threat ticking beneath the surface. They set up in an old car wash turned safe house. Bykov distributed burner phones and temporary IDs. Layla, you handle the power grid. Samet, you're with me. We're going to the court. Samet's eyes widened. I'm going inside the most secure building in the country. You'll be fine, Bykov said with a rare smirk. Just follow my lead, and don't touch anything unless I say so. The countdown had begun. Part 16. The Codebreaker. Inside the safe house, Samet met someone unexpected, A girl about his age, sitting in front of 6 monitors. Who's she, he asked. Layla grinned. That's Zara, our hacker. Genius with a bad attitude. Zara waved without looking up. Nice to meet the accidental hero. She was decoding intercepted transmissions. Lines of code flashed rapidly on the screen. They're using quantum ciphers, she muttered. Takes forever to crack unless... Wait. Boom. Gotcha. She pulled up a blueprint, the Supreme Court vault's layout. There's a service tunnel. Runs under the city. That's your entrance. Samet stared at it. I never imagined my week would end in a sewer. Zara laughed. Welcome to the underground. Part 17, Beneath the Capitol. Samet and Bykov entered the tunnel at dusk. Water dripped from rusted pipes, and the air was heavy with moisture and dust. Bykov moved like a ghost, silent, efficient. You were born here, right? He asked. Yes, Samet answered. But I never knew any of this existed. Bykov paused. Most people don't. That's how corruption thrives, hidden beneath our feet. They reached an old hatch beneath the courthouse. Bykov opened it, revealing a ladder. Samet hesitated. Once we go up, there's no turning back, is there? Bykov looked him in the eye. No, but you're ready. They climbed. Part 18, The Vault Breach. Inside the courthouse basement, motion sensors blinked red. Bykov used a thermal jammer to bypass them, and Samet followed closely. They reached the vault door, steel, silent, monstrous. Bykov whispered, stay back. He placed a small device against the lock, a pulse detonator. Seconds later, a quiet thud, and the door clicked. Inside the vault were rows of sealed cases, one of which held the emergency protocol. As Bykov opened the case, a voice echoed from the shadows. Put it down, Ian. It was Urkanov again. But this time, he wasn't alone. 4 armed agents emerged behind him. This time, Urkanov said, you won't leave alive. Part 19, The Final Standoff. Bykov and Samet stood back to back, surrounded. Bykov held the document in one hand, his pistol in the other. You're not getting it, he growled. Urkanov laughed. It doesn't matter. We've already uploaded the virus into the data reserve. Your little flash drive? Outdated. Just then, Samet stepped forward. You're wrong. We planted a tracker in the flash drive. Zara's been following your every move. Urkanov blinked, then reached for his comm. Too late. An explosion rocked the street above. The virus upload center gone. Zara's voice rang in on Bykov's earpiece. Boom, baby. Chaos erupted. Gunfire. Smoke. Bykov shoved the protocol into Samet's backpack and shouted. Run. Part 20, Escape and Resolve. Samet sprinted through the courthouse corridors, chased by 2 agents. He ducked into a stairwell and burst onto the street. Crowds scattered as sirens wailed in the distance. Layla pulled up in a stolen police SUV. Get in. He leapt in, heart pounding. Behind them, Bykov limped out of the building, smoke rising behind him. He dove into the back seat as Layla peeled off. Do we get it? She asked. Samet nodded, holding up the protocol. They drove in silence for a while. Then Bykov, bloodied but smiling, looked at Samet. You're not just a bystander anymore. You're part of the resistance. And in the rearview mirror, Bishkek burned, but hope remained. Part 21, Smoke and Shadows. The SUV screeched to a halt near the abandoned train yard on the southern edge of Bishkek. Layla, Samet, and Bykov scrambled out, ducking under rusted fences and weaving between old cargo containers. Behind them, helicopters circled the capital. Sirens blared. The government had declared a level 4 national emergency. Layla checked her radio. Static. Communications are down. They've launched full-scale electronic warfare, she muttered. Bykov leaned against a shipping crate, his side bleeding from a bullet wound. We need medical supplies, Samet said urgently. No, Bykov grunted. We need to disappear. Samet looked at him, confused. The country is collapsing, and whoever's behind this isn't done. Layla placed a hand on Samet's shoulder. We have one advantage left, the truth. But first we need allies. Part 22, The Broadcast. Inside an old maintenance shed, Zara set up a satellite transmitter, one of the last operational ones untouched by the blackout. Bykov handed her the emergency protocol. We need to go public. Let the world see what they're trying to destroy. Zara scanned the document. This will expose names, codes, entire... So they want to bring the country... Nice to meet the accidental hero. She was decoding intercepted transmissions. Lines of code flashed rapidly on the screen. They're using quantum ciphers, she muttered. Takes forever to crack unless... Wait. Boom. Gotcha. She pulled up a blueprint, the Supreme Court vault's layout. There's a service tunnel. Runs under the city. That's your entrance. Samet stared. You're not getting it, he growled. 2. The broadcast. Inside an old maintenance shed, Zara set up a satellite transmitter, one of the last operational ones untouched by the blackout. Bykov handed her the emergency protocol. We need to go public. Let the world see what they're trying to destroy. Zara scanned the document. This will expose names, codes, entire sleeper units. Samet stepped forward. Then let's do it. She nodded, and within minutes, the signal was live. Across Kyrgyzstan and the world, phones buzzed. Screens lit up. A message began streaming. This is not a drill. What you're about to see is real. The people you trust may be part of the enemy. It showed secret documents, surveillance footage, and clips of rogue agents. Names appeared. Faces, including Urkanov's. The truth was out, but so was their location. Part 23, the strike team. Just before midnight, Bykov noticed a red laser dot flicker across a wall. Down! A bullet shattered the glass of the shed. Layla grabbed Samet and pulled him into cover. Zara yanked out the transmitter cable and stuffed it into her backpack. Explosions echoed across the yard. A strike team, full tactical gear, thermal visors, silenced rifles, closed in. Bykov returned fire from behind a forklift. Split up. Rendezvous at Black Gate 9. They scattered. Samet and Zara ran toward the drainage tunnel. Layla threw a smoke grenade and vanished into the mist. Bykov stayed behind, covering their retreat with sniper precision. One by one, they escaped into the city's dark arteries. But Bykov did not follow. Part 24, the last message. Hours later, Samet and Zara reached a hidden bunker beneath a textile factory. Layla arrived soon after, covered in dirt and bruises. Where's Ian? Samet asked. Layla looked down, silent. Then her radio crackled. Layla, this is Bykov. They got me. And yet. His voice was weak but firm. They're planning the final phase. Operation Red Lantern. At midnight. At the presidential palace. Zara gasped. That's where the interim cabinet will be. They're meeting for the emergency council. Exactly, Bykov said. They want to take them all out at once and replace them. Static followed. Then silence. Samet clenched his fists. We have to stop them. Part 25. Into the lion's den. Zara pulled up blueprints of the palace. There's a tunnel from the National Archives to the East Wing. Layla handed Samet a sidearm. This time, you're not a passenger. I wasn't planning to be, he said, loading the magazine. They moved through the sewers, silent and swift. Samet's mind raced. He wasn't the scared boy from the bench anymore. As they neared the entrance, they heard footsteps, guards. Layla whispered, no killing unless we have to. But the guards spotted them. A fight broke out. Layla disarmed one. Zara shocked another with a taser pen. Samet ducked a punch, then landed a hit that knocked the attacker unconscious. They pressed on. The clock was ticking. Part 26, the Room of Mirrors. They reached the palace's east wing just before midnight. It was eerily quiet, too quiet. Zara scanned for heat signatures. There, behind that wall, 6 people, unarmed. Layla opened a hidden panel, and they entered a mirrored chamber. Inside, the interim cabinet was gathered, confused and scared. Samet stepped forward. You're in danger. This whole place is rigged. They want to make it look like an accident. One minister stood. Who are you? Who sent you? Layla answered. A dead man. Suddenly, the chandelier above began ticking. Zara pulled out her signal jammer. That's the trigger device. Samet climbed the wall and grabbed the bomb. I can't stop the countdown, but I can move it. Part 27, the sacrifice. Samet ran down the corridor with the bomb in his hands. The timer read 021. 020. Layla shouted after him. Samit, no. But he was already gone. He bolted through the west wing, kicked open a security door, and sprinted to the back garden. He spotted a deep fountain and dove in, bomb clutched tight. 3, 2, 1. The explosion was muffled underwater. Windows shattered. Water geysered. But no one was harmed. Layla and Zara found him moments later. Burned, bloodied, but alive. He coughed and smiled weakly. Guess I'm not just a student anymore. Part 28. Bekov's Legacy. 2 days later, Samit stood at a hidden gravesite in the mountains. Only Layla and Zara were with him. They buried a metal badge, Bekov's, beneath a pine tree. He died believing we'd carry it forward, Layla said. We will, Samit answered. As they turned to leave, Zara handed Samit a sealed envelope. I found this in Bekov's locker. It's addressed to you. Inside was a single note. Courage isn't the absence of fear, but doing what's right despite it. You did that. Now lead. Ian. Samit folded it and placed it in his pocket. Part 29. Rise of the Resistance. Back in Bishkek, the streets were still healing. But change had begun. Layla rejoined the agency, this time as its reform director. Zara launched a cybersecurity movement for youth, and Samit was offered a government post. He declined. Instead, he formed an independent watch group, the White Signal, dedicated to exposing corruption, defending civil rights, and recruiting the next generation of protectors. His first speech in front of the University of Kyrgyzstan drew thousands. I'm not a hero, he said. I'm a reminder that even a stranger at a bench can change the world. The crowd erupted. Part 30. Peace for now. 1 year later, Samit returned to the bench at the night bus terminal, the same one where it all began. He sat quietly, watching people come and go. A boy nearby played with a toy drone. An old woman swept the floor. Normalcy. Then a voice behind him. Waiting for another black bag? He turned. It was Layla, smiling. Samit laughed. I hope not. She handed him a folder. But if one shows up, you know what to do. He nodded. And as the city lights flickered into the distance, Samit knew the fight for justice never ends. Part 31. Whispers from Geneva. It had been 14 months since the attack on the presidential palace. Samit now traveled the world, speaking at security forums and human rights assemblies. His name was whispered in government circles, sometimes in admiration, sometimes in fear. One morning in Geneva, while preparing to speak at the Global Transparency Summit, he received a message, handwritten and sealed in wax. There was no name, only coordinates and a sentence. They were never just after Kyrgyzstan. He only stopped Act 1. Later that evening, he met with Zara, who now operated an encrypted satellite relay system across 3 continents. She analyzed the coordinates. They lead to the Alps, deep in neutral territory. No official structures nearby. Samit nodded grimly. Then that's where we go next. Part 32. The Alpine Citadel. Disguised as mountaineers, Samit and Zara trekked the snowy slopes of the Swiss Alps. For days, they saw nothing but ice, wind, and silence, until they stumbled upon it, a steel door embedded into a cliff wall. The entrance was biometric, but oddly, when Samit placed his palm on the scanner, it opened. Inside, a high-tech facility powered by geothermal energy, humming with digital life. A single phrase flashed on a monitor as they enter. Ed. Welcome back, Agent Beko. V. Zara froze. Bekov had access to this place, but it's NATO-grade tech. They found logs, surveillance records, meeting transcriptions, and then something worse. Blueprints of major cities across Europe, with red excess over financial institutions, communication hubs, and water treatment plants. It was a continental takeover plan. Part 33. The Ghost in the System. As they explored deeper into the base, lights flickered. Zara's laptop buzzed. Her firewall was being attacked. Then a robotic voice echoed. Intrusion detected. Initiating lockdown. Samit slammed his fist on the console. Who's controlling this facility? Suddenly, the screen lit up with a video feed. It was Urkanov, alive, and speaking from a hidden location. You thought I was dead? No, Samit. You only scratched the surface. What we've built is beyond borders, beyond laws. The next era begins now, and you're already too late. The feed ended. A countdown began, 72 hours. Zara gasped. It's a global cyber strike. They're going to collapse all major economies in 3 days. Part 34. A message from the past. In a hidden server room, Samit discovered a recording Bykov had left, encrypted with his voice key. He play. Diet. If you're hearing this, Samit, then Urkanov survived. He always had fail-safes. He was never acting alone. There's someone else, a financier known only as Grey Wolf. He funds revolutions, topples systems, then profits from the A.S. Find him. Stop him. You'll need help from Beyond Bow. Writers. Zara, check the surveillance feeds. We have less than 60 hours. If we don't find the Grey Wolf, Urkanov's plan goes global. Samit stared at the flashing map. One name kept reappearing, Prague. Part 35, Prague's Hidden War. Prague. Rain poured over cobblestone streets and Gothic spires. Samit and Zara, under new aliases, tracked a woman named Ivana Vasek, an ex-agent turned informant who had once worked for Grey Wolf. They found her in a small church-turned library. She looked over her shoulder before speaking. Grey Wolf isn't one person. It's a network of billionaires, ex-generals, and political ghosts. But the man at the top, he calls himself Lucien Devreux. He used to run shadow ops for the European Security Directorate. Until he vanished. She handed Samit a card. Black. No writing. Only a golden insignia. A wolf devouring a globe. Find him, or prepare for the world to fall in silence. Suddenly, gunfire erupted outside. Ivana was hit. Go, she gasped. They know everything. Part 36. Hunt through the catacombs. Samit and Zara fled through the narrow alleys of Old Prague, chased by black-suited mercenaries. They ducked into a meat market and slipped into an underground tunnel, a forgotten catacomb beneath the city. The echoes of boots followed. As they ran, Zara hacked into a surveillance drone. Her face lit up with horror. They've initiated test attacks. Shanghai's markets are crashing. A blackout in Sao Paulo. The warm-up has begun. Samit stopped running. No more hiding. No more surviving. We go to the top. Zara hesitated. Lucien Devreux. Yes. It ends with him. She nodded. And they climbed back into the light, ready to burn the shadow. Part 37. The Architect of Collapse. In Berlin, under the guise of financial summit, Samit and Zara infiltrated a meeting at the prestigious Viridian Tower. On the 66th floor, they found him. Lucien Devreux. Silver-haired, elegant, and calm, sipping wine as chaos brewed outside. Ah, the infamous Samit, he smiled. You're much younger than I imagined. Samit clenched his fists. Why do this? Lucien stood. Because the world needs a reset. Your governments have failed. Your institutions are corrupt. I offer pain, yes, but also rebirth. Zara uploaded a virus into the building system. Lucien turned, amused. You think I didn't prepare for that? He pressed a button. A new countdown began. 5 o'clock. Now you must choose, stop the virus, or save the city. Part 38. Split decision. Alarms blared. Zara's system was overwhelmed. Lucien escaped via a secured helipad. Samit faced 2 terminals. One would stop the virus infecting European power grids. The other would disarm a hidden explosive beneath the tower. Only one could be done in time. Samit closed his eyes. Then, he chose the city. As the bomb deactivated, the virus spread. But Zara had planted a seed, a tracker within Lucien's last upload. She grinned. We know where he's going. Samit looked out over Berlin, blackouts flickering in the distance. One last hunt. Part 39. The final summit. A private island off the coast of Norway. A fortress carved into the cliffs. This was Grey Haven, Lucien's sanctuary. Samit, Zara, and Layla, reunited, parachuted in at dawn. Inside, Lucien was hosting the final meeting of global conspirators. They wore masks, spoke in riddles, and traded secrets like stocks. But the heroes were ready. Cameras hidden. Satellite feeds linked. Broadcast live. When Lucien began his speech, the world was watching. Samet burst in, dragging him into the light. Say it again, Lucian. Tell the people why you wanted to burn the world. Lucian smiled darkly. Because I could. The room erupted, not with applause, but with the sound of nations awakening. Part 40, Dawn After Darkness. Lucien Devreux was tried in The Hague. The Grey Wolf Network was dismantled. Interpol, NATO, and dozens of nations began rebuilding trust from the ashes. Samet refused medals, declining to enter politics. Instead, he founded Project Lantern, a global initiative that trained young defenders of truth, freedom, and justice. Layla became a UN peace envoy. Zara opened the world's most advanced cyber defense institute in Central Asia. And Samet? He returned home. One night, he sat at that same old bench at the bus terminal, now a national monument. A child approached and asked, "Are you the boy from the black bag story?" Samet smiled softly. "Once, but now, I just help others carry theirs." And with that, the secret in the black bag was sealed, forever a symbol that one choice, one act of courage, can change the fate of the world.